It was a rainy day in southern Millwall. The year was 1789, and the Graham family was celebrating the newborn baby. Alfred, sitting by Chelsea Hayes, his mother, was holding her hand as she was giving birth. Then, out of nowhere, a faint squeal came from his mother's lower region. His sister was born. The Graham family worked in an iron factory called the Drunken Dock. Alfred was only 11 years old. Him and his family walked 473 meters every day to work from their home. They lived in a filthy old tenement. The place was practically falling to pieces. There were 5 other people living there, leaving barely any room for socializing. It became a place to sleep and nothing else. The roof was leaking, nothing to keep the water at bay. The wooden planks in the walls were eaten by termites as well. Chelsea is a stay-at-home mum, with Edwina, Alfred's newborn sister, and Alfred's brother, Edgar, who is a twin. Edgar is physically challenged, having suffered a leg amputation due to an incident whilst working at a factory. Clive, the other brother, works every day as a stamper. Brandon, the children's father, works as a potter on the opposite side of the factory. Alfred is nervous about the birth of his sister because he knows that they need to earn more money, but Alfred has enough on his plate, with Sam and the boys chasing him up for cash. The next morning, on the 30th of May, the boys stepped into work with the burden to carry, each carrying more than others. Brandon and Clive both started working at 7 o'clock, as did Alfred, although he was waiting for his mate Scott. Scott and Alfred knew each other since the first day at the factory, with Scott teaching Alfred the ropes. The work got pretty intense, but they always got through. Scott's family, the Addingtons, were broke. Alfred tried his best to help, but couldn't spare a penny. 3 of Scott's brothers had died, leaving his mother to work at a wool factory on the other side of town. Alfred and Scott found themselves working on shaping the iron before shipment. The work was treacherous, extreme heats filling the factory with no sort of cooling device. Not many people were able to go near the molten iron without passing out, a gift that the 2 boys shared. The 2 boys venture into the heart of the factory, where their station is, greeting fellow children as they walk by. The time was 7:05, and the 2 boys had just arrived to their stations. They copped a spray from an older man, the guy in charge. His name was Samuel. He had broad shoulders and big muscles, all fitted into a dirty leather coat. Scott and Alfred had a rugged and muddy pair of shorts and a dirty white top with a cap. Whilst working, the noises of rain, shouting and cursing in the factory were so loud the talking was drowned away by the ongoing racket. This made work worse than it already was. Working as an iron shaper was no easy task, although it was better than potting and stamping. Getting dirty wasn't really Alfred's thing. The men in charge were getting restless and couldn't keep it in much longer. An overflow of swearing and abuse passed through the factory. All of a sudden, a humongous bang came from the northern side of the factory. The northern side of the factory was where they melt down iron, and the closest side to the factory where the boys worked. Shrieks filled the factory, and the terrors of what was happening flooded Alfred's body, and what is worse was that seeing his best friend Scott on the ground, shrieking in pain, as the immense heat from the volcanic-like liquid pierced his skin. Alfred was quick to act. With no one else offering assistance, Alfred picked Scott up, dodging the gooey liquid beneath his feet. He couldn't help feeling the intense heat from under him, though. After tireless hours contemplating what to do, Alfred came to a conclusion. Scott's leg comes off, and all the money that Alfred earns goes to help Scott and his family in need. Alfred didn't know how to break the news to his family. He couldn't. The disapproval and the mentality of survive or die would overwhelm him. Alfred started working extra hours and sneaking over to the Addington household every second day. His family was completely in the dark, although Alfred didn't think his plan through. He didn't have enough money to sustain the Addingtons, and his father Brandon and brother Clive weren't getting the money that they need. Alfred as a whole wasn't looking too good. He isn't lasting very long at the factory and has sustained many injuries due to his lack of concentration. It was the 20th of June, 1789. It wasn't like the last month with the rain. In fact, it was raining twice as hard. As Alfred walked into the factory, there was a massive crack. One of the iron craters was mid-falling with Alfred underneath. Whilst running, he slipped. "Get up!" his boss shouted, but it was too late. Bang!